fact that Prop 64 says you cannot smoke, and it absolutely authorizes us to medicate anywhere else you can smoke tobacco. And if you can smoke tobacco, you can smoke your medicine if you hold a recommendation. If you're smoking as a 21 and up recreational consumer, then no, Prop 64 says you cannot smoke in public places. But the thing is, though, on private property, they do have absolutely all have a recommendation, so that we'll get into the argument in the future. And so I'm going to bring that up first. So first, I think
my name is Jessica Aesop, and a few years ago, after getting my MBA at Harvard, I finally felt confident to follow my heart and pursue cannabis as my career. So I came to LA and the community cannabis feminist, because in my heart I believe cannabis could be the first billion-dollar industry run by women. And just watching the female entrepreneurs come to life has been one of the best experiences of my life. And now I'm working on a line of hemp-derived cannabinoid wellness products, because I really want to get cannabinoids into the hands of are taking Xanax and drinking white wine when they could be taking plant medicine. So that's why I'm here. The life.
Hi, my name is Chelsea. I'm actually a DJ. And so I came into this space through my own condition, which is epilepsy. I was diagnosed with a form of epilepsy called juvenile myoclonic epilepsy at the age of 15. And epilepsy had already been a huge part of my life because I have an older sister with a more severe form of the condition. And she lives in the UK in full-time care. And she can have anywhere from 5 to 70 seizures a day, and often has grand mal seizures, falls to the floor without any warning at all. So, as I said, when I was diagnosed, I had already this condition had been something that I had experienced very intensely. And I was put on pharmaceutical medication. At 15, a cocktail of different drugs, which I experienced some pretty side effects from. For those of you that have taken anticonvulsants, you will know. To take CBD. Actually, it was over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And 2 years ago, I weaned myself off of all my pharmaceutical medication and have not had one seizure since. So. So I come into this space as a patient, and have really, in many ways, that is why I'm sitting here today.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Annabelle Manalo. I'm a developmental biologist, and I was a government researcher for the last 7 years. I was the lead scientist on the largest chemotherapy project in the world. I like this because we all have a story, and I think that ties us into this industry, and I think that's why a lot of us are here. I had a son 2 years ago, and he was born, had a stroke, and was having over 200 seizures a day. They're really unregulated. I'm not trying this stuff. But mom, I got pretty desperate when I saw a 6-month-old who couldn't do anything. I mean, he's 6 months old, still not smiling at you, not moving. It led me to do my own research and study cannabis, and eventually made my own CBD oil that I now have 7 patents around, and didn't tell doctors, didn't tell anyone but my husband, started giving it to my son. And he's 2 years old now, still missing 40% of his brain, but he has no developmental deficits. So I'm in the space because I owe this space, my research, my credibility. And I'm here today to advocate for it and to make good relationships and to really educate and help people understand why this is such a critical industry, not for the money, but for what it can do for this world. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My story is definitely not as cool as those ones. I'll probably represent like a different voice and opinion in some of this. I am a disabled vet, so equally much to this plant. Wisconsin Ag World, to military, to Colorado at the right time, 2016, and started a small company helping with the business aspect of this industry. Now I also manage for different venture funds, and just last week I was in Europe doing this. Standpoint, how do we actually do this correctly? A good 90% of it is not necessarily correctly. So it's trying to find a balance of business, cannabinoid science, and cannabinoid system research and actually helping patients, because at the end of the day, this is everything we do this for, all adults and patients too, since it's legal. But what we do now matters. And for a lot of these patients and their stories, the businesses are not representing this cannabinoid or this industry correctly. And we've got to think long. So, pleasure to be here.
I think with CBD, there has been a lot of mainstream over really 5 years, but in the past 3 years, we've really seen a development almost of an entirely side industry that's hemp-derived CBD to the flower-derived CBD, meaning deriving from the plant when it is grown as sinsemilla and grown as a flower and not in industrial production. Yeah, Mike, and make sure to also hold it up. He wanted me to let you guys know to hold it up so everybody can hear.
So what we're dealing with now is layers and layers of consumer confusion, while also experiencing a huge surge in buzz around the term CBD without actually understanding what CBD is. In my opinion, we should stop calling it CBD, instead call it a cannabinoid. And the difference is, while I agree that CBD is that we should, it's one of over 100 active compounds in the plant. And by calling it CBD, putting so much focus on a single molecule, we're forgetting about the entourage effect more than we actually do, because there's so much about the plant we do not yet understand. We don't understand how the terpenes and the phenols and the cannabinoids work together, and how many receptors we have in our bodies. In fact, I was just in Israel this summer speaking to Dr. Raphael Meshulam, who first discovered the endocannabinoid system and isolated CBD and THC. And when I asked him about a potential third receptor found in the body, which was big news this summer, he was like, honestly, we have no idea how many receptors we have in our system. And part of the beauty of the ground consumer education, and we have to help people understand what they're actually looking for, which is a cannabinoid-rich extract. It's not just CBD, it's not just an isolated molecule. It's a cannabinoid, an active, beyond cannabinoids, extract coming from either the flowers of the cannabis or the hemp plant, as long as they're extracted from the flowers and not the seeds, because now we're also seeing beauty products made with hemp seed oil, calling it hemp oil, calling it cannabinoids, which is doing a total disservice to the true benefit of the plant. So we need education. We need to start using the word cannabinoid more than using the word CBD, because that's also misleading. A single isolate is completely different effect than a whole plant full spectrum extract. So in my mind, it should really be a cannabinoid conversation, and where we can get the best cannabinoids supported by phenols and terpenes and other molecules we do not yet understand. So just look for whole plant, full spectrum, or broad spectrum, in my opinion.
It's profound, and we haven't been able to define it. But I think that's just as important is our lack of research. This industry's been moving for the last 25 years. And we're just extracting and extracting and extracting, but that single isolate is important. Because unless we isolate every single cannabinoid, we can't define the synergistic benefit. So we don't know if some of these cannabinoids can turn into THC. We don't know what happens when it gets decarboxylated and goes from an acid form into a single form. And most importantly, we don't know what happens when it enters into our body. So instead of just saying, hey, everyone just go all in and go for a full hemp extract, I think we need to have better standardizations and understand what is in each hemp extract based on strain or whatever you want to base that on, make sure that the quality is right, and then start building up some data, and even if it's data within the user itself. Like, hey, I got fibromyalgia, I'm gonna start trying CBD. Okay, I'm gonna try a full hemp extract. What are the cannabinoids in there that we do know about? And what may have helped me? Unless we have, 20, 30, 40, 50 people at data collection, we're never gonna know what this synergistic benefit means.
Not a lawyer at all. I like them a lot though. So I like to look at like the Controlled Substances Act. It clearly defines like what is legal and what is not from like a controlled one substance. So it lists cannabinoids, all 117 known today. CBD, THC, A, G, all of them, all the fun new ones. And when we look at like the Farm Bill, 2014 Farm Bill, I was probably the one who towed the fucking line the biggest on that with like a giant hemp project with like tribal reservations. You needed to essentially have like State Department of Agricultural approval and an institution of higher education that had the authority to work with the Farm Bill to cultivate hemp for the extraction thereof of seeds, fibers, oils, like not unpollinated flowers, which we all know are so great. Anything that happened after that point, when we look at like 1961 UN conventions, single conventions on psychotropic substances, even now like WHO last week had a pretty good new finding on this, but everything CBD is completely as illegal as THC. And without the Cole memo, you don't really, like, anymore.